If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you the visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 21,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/C-suite. netsuite.com/C-suite.
Welcome to the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and as always, I'm here with the homie Kevin.
Hey everybody, I hope the week has been going well for you. If you celebrate this, I hope your Memorial Day was splendid at the same time and you had a fancy chance of using that to whatever you like to do on that day.
Yeah, have some hot dogs and steaks and hamburgers and whatever the hell those people that have that day off do.
Exactly, because Q and I, you know what we were doing?
We were at work.
Oh, yes. And was your day fruitful at all? Did you get anything done?
I didn't do a damn thing.
Me neither, man. Not a daggum thing.
Nope.
I got paid for hours. That's it.
Essentially me too. I didn't get paid for any kind of sales because there was nothing to sell.
Exactly.
Or no one to sell to. There we go. Anyways, guys, hope y'all been doing well and all that good stuff. Hell yeah. Superhero Homies here, and today's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, covering DC Rebirth. And now when we say DC Rebirth, we do not mean like the entire continuity of DC Rebirth. We mean the actual graphic novel, the actual contained story referred to as DC Rebirth.
Thank you for the specification. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is a really cool and important one. And it may or may not have subconsciously been done by design. If you guys recall, maybe a couple months ago or so, we did Flashpoint Paradox, or technically we did Flashpoint. Flashpoint Paradox is the animated movie based off of the graphic novel Flashpoint. But you guys remember that one. We did that one some time ago.
Right.
And Flashpoint was a really important one, really good graphic novel, really good story that, encapsulated Barry Allen trying to go back and write what he felt like was the biggest wrong that happened in his life, which was the death of his mother. Yep. And him going back and stopping that caused a giant ripple effect that didn't create an alternative universe. It altered his own universe.
Yeah, and go figure, that changed a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stuff you wouldn't even imagine being changed. But hey,
right.
The butterfly effect.
Exactly. It changed a lot of things. Him doing that even caused just even the smallest of shifts within that universe. Like, for example, Superman didn't land in Smallville. He landed in Metropolis, and he was taken and kept on the ground. It's like a little government puppet experiment.
Yeah, so not... In fact, that's a separate thought, come to think of it all. And admittedly, this is not my first time having this thought, but thinking about this, again, this fictional story in a logical lens,
right?
I don't fathom how Barry's mom had anything to do with some of those factors that went into the story. Again, not critiquing the story, because it's a fascinating read, and it was a huge, awesome, oh my gosh, what if that happened type thing. But it's like, so Barry's mom dying helped Khalil to land where he needed to land, to not be underground forever, and for Thomas Wayne to die instead of Bruce. And
I think there's a factor that you're missing in that is when Eobard Thawne is explaining everything to Barry, as Barry is starting to remember everything that happened.
Right.
Reverse Flash tells him that yes, all this is your fault. When you ran back in time and changed that. It wasn't just the fact that his mother died, it was the fact that it caused an actual shift, which is why.
Oh, okay. So the force itself was shift. They were the time force, not the Star Wars force. All right, cool.
Yeah, and the reason that I mentioned Flashpoint in the first place is because Flashpoint does play a really big role in everything else that happens thereafter. Specifically DC Rebirth. And now, what I want to mention before we really get into it is that this comic doesn't necessarily restore the pre-Flashpoint DC universe and it does not undo the New 52.
Nope.
So for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with Rebirth, you may be wondering, how does it play a factor then into the DC universe going forward? Well, it does carefully attempt to bring everything together. So as we're going to go throughout the course here of this story, you guys are going to learn that there's a lot of things that was lost in New 52. If any of you guys have read anything from the New 52, you may realize that these characters now are slightly different than what they were beforehand. For example, they're all younger in the New 52. That's something that's addressed here.
Right.
There's certain things that happened pre-New 52 that in the New 52 they don't really reference or talk about because technically they did not happen. And it's all because of the Flashpoint. Once Flash fixed Flashpoint at the end of the story, things were different. Things were changed. So the New 52 is technically is spawned from the Flashpoint. But at the end of the New 52, there was a really giant arc. It was the Dark Side versus Anti-Monitor arc.
Okay.
Yeah, possibly like the two biggest juggernauts in the DC universe were going head to head, colliding with one another. For the anti-life equation was in the balance, and the anti-life equation like the biggest power source in the DCU. And essentially, spoiler alert, once Darkseid died, that opened up something in the universe and allowed for certain things to happen. And at the very end of that omnibus or that story, however you read it, we see that Metron, the guy who originally sits in the Mobius chair grants the user all knowledge. Batman sat on that chair for quite some time throughout the story. Eventually, he finally relinquished it. But Owlman essentially got the chair. Owlman from like Earth 3 got the chair. He and Metron went to a random planet, and Owlman was contemplating learning all the secrets of the universe. And as he asked the chair to give him all the secrets of the universe, he and Metron were approached by a being that we don't see. The comic never shows us, and before they can even get the chance to say anything, they're dead, and there's just like a blood splatter in their place. And that's essentially where, as far as the Justice League comic goes, that's where the New 52 leaves us, wondering what happened to Owlman and Metron, what the hell happened with the Mobius chair, and who the hell did that, who were they looking at, and that's kind of where that leaves us. But yeah, before we get into the comic, Kevin, what did you think overall of DC Rebirth?
Okay, yeah. Honestly, it was a very short story. I felt like it was a very creative write. I felt like it did have a purpose in reading it, honestly. Yes, it did answer a few questions, I'm sure, that those who followed the New 52 storyline that you just told us all about now. I feel like it did a very good job of introducing certain new properties that DC has obtained into the DC universe. And now it did so very loosely and very like, oh, cliffhanger, what's going to happen? Oh, is this going to be the direction type thing, you know? But nonetheless, it definitely did fill in some necessary gaps that, gaps is a heavy and kind of a hard word here, but it did fill in potential questions and doctrine, really, that Flashpoint did kind of leave up in the air for the most dedicated of reader who would think to ask such questions like, so wait, how did all this really happen? Like, what's the further cause of all this? And I feel like that this story did a very good job of helping tie that together. And really, honestly, I was amazed at how short the story was. I remember texting you like, oh, well, I read it in one sit. Like, oh, there's not a lot of meat, but there's a lot of quality for what's in these pages.
Right. I gotta say, I think there's a lot of meat there. I think there's a lot of content there. Like with this story alone, I took a lot of notes. And that's the thing about DC Rebirth is that on each page they really do cover a lot of ground, and if like you really do have to be looking for it, but there is a lot of content there. And it's all pretty pivotal to the overall DC Universe arc. I think that one of the funnest things about this story to note is how they do keep one thing in continuity, and that is the Flash. And in some way, shape, or form, the Flash is always the one that's involved.
I mean, he was the staple of the story. Yeah.
Right. Like for example, we can go back to if you go back to Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's the story where Barry Allen sacrificed himself to save the multiverse. That involved the entire DC universe, but it was Barry Allen, the Flash, that held it all together and that saved the day. And then there was Infinite Crisis, and that's where like the entire Flash roster came together to kind of to save the universe. Wally West, Jay Garrick, Bart Allen, they all kind of came together. Then, of course, there was Final Crisis, and that's where Barry Allen returns. So that's where the Flash comes back to life. And then we have Flashpoint, where, of course, Barry Allen was crucial to that as well, who's the key character, key component.
Exactly.
And now here in Rebirth, we have another Flash character that's pivotal to kind of not really reshaping, but restoring certain things to the universe.
Right. Continuing it, really,
Right.
in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always a Flash character that's responsible.
Yeah, I mean, that Speed Force, man,
Yeah.
it's too much of a powerhouse, you know? Yeah.
And you know, for like my research for this podcast, you know, putting together like what Flash event happened and when, it was kind of fun because, you know, like typically whenever you're reading a DC comic and they refer to anything in the name of Infinite or Crisis,
Dadgum DC and Crisis, man.
yeah, if the word Infinite or Crisis is in it, typically Crisis, then you know that it's like one of their world-altering stories that you need to read. It's kind of like how Marvel does the same thing with either the word Secret Wars or the word Infinity. How they hinge like all like majority of their big overarching universe altering comics on either Secret Wars something or Infinity something. It's just interesting how each
really, staple. I guess you could summarize the first one to just war. Anytime Marvel says war, something's going down. Because Secret Wars, Civil War, you know, those are the two big ones that hit my head. Yeah.
Right. But like as far as like world altering, typically there's a lot of Infinity, and there are also like Infinity Crusade.
Oh yeah, no, Infinity definitely, yeah.
Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, and then there's been like 3 Secret Wars now. So
they're not so secret anymore. Yeah.
But no, let's go ahead and get into it. So the very first page we get that cool ass 9-panel grid layout. And if you guys, whoever read this, you know, you read that and you think, that looks familiar. That is a very familiar layout. It was made most predominantly famous in The Watchmen. And of course, we even see a watch in this very first panel. As the narrator is talking, we find out later that the narrator is Wally West. And he's talking about how that watch was given to him by his uncle. Presumably Barry Allen, who he's talking about. But anyway, he had an uncle that gave him this watch. And but yeah, so he's pretty much talking about how he's out of time now and everybody's out of time. This is a really cool opening panel, I thought, because I mean, it's no secret, guys, but especially at this point back in 2016 when this story first came out, there was a lot of people wondering, is DC going to incorporate the Watchmen into their universe? And them teasing us in this very first issue with that 9-panel grid layout and then the watch in the background was pretty clever.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, so we get that strong symbolism there to Watchmen, and then basically what we have here is there's pre-New 52 Wally West. And so essentially, guys, before the events of Flashpoint, that Wally West, the OG Wally West, we get him. He's slipping through time. And he's trying to not only make sense of what's going on, but also trying to warn his friends, trying to wake them up, trying to get them to remember. And he knows that he doesn't have a lot of time. Essentially, why Wally all throughout this story is in such a rush and such a horror is because if he doesn't get someone to remember him, to remember where they came from, then he's essentially going to metastasize into the Speed Force and become one with it and become fuel for the Speed Force and for the next group of speedsters. For him to remain who he is, to remain a conscious, sentient person, he has to ground himself. He has to find what the speech just referred to as a lightning rod that can keep them grounded.
Yep.
But as he's slipping through time, he thinks, and of course, who does he first think to go see? Batman. Because who else would be able to figure out this mess if not Batman? So I thought that was pretty clever. So he's slipping through time, and he goes to the Batcave. But before he lands there, we see Batman studying his Bat computer pretty intently. He's getting hits from different places about crimes that the Joker has committed. And Alfred goes, so wait a minute, that can't be right. They're saying that there's 2 different Jokers. And Batman goes, no, Alfred. The chair, referring to the Mobius chair, said that there were 3. And
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And so Batman is trying to make sense of all that. And I'm really glad that that this story, in a way, it does kind of clarify what it means by 3 Jokers. Because of the great art that's all throughout this book. I do really appreciate the art here. But
yeah,
what we see here is that there's 3 different Jokers. Each one represents a period. There's like the kind of like the jovial, gesture like chaotic Bronze Age Joker, and then there's like the clown prince of chaos Silver Age Joker, and then there's like the new more creepy almost sadistic type Joker that we get that we have now. And so essentially something has happened that has brought all the Jokers from the different eras into this one universe. And so,
kind of a creative writing.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. But no, Wally shows up, and Bruce doesn't recognize Wally. Wally was really hoping he would. And Wally, trying to ground himself and trying to make Bruce remember, he mentions the letter that his dad wrote him, the letter that Barry gave to Bruce that was from Thomas, and just trying to get Bruce to remember. And he says that this is all connected. This all has something to do with one another. And Batman, at this point, he doesn't know what's going on, but he wants to question him to figure out what's happening. But unfortunately, it's not enough. The time string or the Speed Force sucks up Wally again, and it leaves like a giant crackling of lightning that hits the Batcave, and Batman's not able to get any kind of questions or answers. So, I thought this was a really fun introduction as to what Wally West is going through throughout the story. And I also love the callback to the letter from Thomas Wayne.
Right. I mean, if you're going to tell a story about the Flashpoint, you have to bring up the letter, really. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, the letter was one of the harder-hitting messages when it came to the Flashpoint in connection to other characters, presumably Batman at this point especially, you know, bringing him really into the meat of it all and showing him, hey, so this other timeline, it wasn't all a big hoax, and hey, here's something from it that might help bring you some peace too. Or really, peace, motivation, a number of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Closure is
also,
what...
yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But no, I thought that was a really fun introduction, that we see Wally here as he's slipping and sliding through time, trying to find Bruce Wayne first. But unfortunately, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for him.
Nope.
And he's continuing to slip. And one of the next major plot points we get here is he's slipping through time, and he's kind of reminiscing on some things from his own past. He recounts the time that he first met Barry Allen when he went out to visit Iris, his auntie.
Yep.
And meeting Barry and then finding out that Barry was the Flash, and then having the same accident that happened to Barry happen to him. He's recounting how he became the Flash, recounting his time in the Teen Titans and all the fun adventures that he had. He's trying to remember everything that no one else seems to remember. Because here's the thing, guys, like this Wally West, like I already mentioned, he wasn't there throughout the entirety of the New 52. There was a different Wally West, but not this Wally West, not this red-headed, OG, more familiar Wally West. He wasn't there. But now here he is, just slipping and sliding through time after the events of Darkseid dying. Here he is now, all of a sudden, trying to ground himself. But
poor bastard.
Yeah, no, he's. I mean, what do you do? Like, if you find essentially that the world you knew kind of isn't a thing anymore, but it is, but no one remembers you, and people are different.
Well, first off, I think your first step is fighting the confusion. Because I think it's easy to get lost in the fact that, one, you're traveling timelines, like you're going from city to city, you know, like, oh, where am I at now? I'm in 20 years in the past. Oh, where am I at now? Oh, 5 years in the past. Right. Oh, okay, I took a turn somewhere incorrectly. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, he isn't really time traveling, but it's more like he was gone and now he's here.
Right.
In this current day and age, and he's trying to figure out why none of his friends remember him and how he can get them to remember.
Right, yeah.
That'd be frustrating.
Yeah, but then also fighting the confusion on the idea of just how convoluted all this can become so quickly, really. You know, that's kind of more where I was going with that. But, yeah.
Yeah, no. I feel bad for Wally throughout this, but this is actually turned out to be one of my favorite Wally stories. So essentially what's happening next is that he recounts more memories, recounts the memory of meeting some other speedsters, the memory of Barry dying and Crisis on Infinite Earths, and becoming like the premier Flash. But then like the next thing that we get as far as him trying to visit people is we see this old man being chased in a nursing home. And this is very crucial material here for the story. There's this old man being chased by a couple of orderlies, and these orderlies, you can tell they're sick of his shit. You can tell that this old man always gets them trouble. He's always stirring up shit, and he just won't stay put. Like, he's just one of those people. And this old man is none other than Johnny Thunder. Johnny Thunder was one of the premier members of the Justice Society of America, the JSA. The JSA is the only other superhero group that's older than the Justice League.
Yeah.
And so...
shoot, their comics now are super old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we got crates of them downstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, the JSA is a pretty old organization.
Yeah.
But what's happening here is that Johnny Thunder, he's remembering everything. He's remembering his past. He's remembering the Justice Society. But now, because no one else does, they think that he's just this senile old man.
Right.
And so it's kind of a sad story here that we get. Essentially, he's able to escape into like a little broom closet. And that's where Wally is able to approach him. He's able to kind of get away from the Speed Force a little bit and confront Captain Thunder, or Johnny Thunder.
Yeah.
And now what happens here next? You kind of know a little bit about Johnny Thunder to see the depth there. But what's happening here is that Johnny Thunder, he's old. He is old and a little crazy now. He's not mentally all there.
Which kind of understandable, seeing everything a superhero goes through.
Right. That and he's old as shit.
Right.
Yeah. But as he's struggling with what's going on, he's looking at Wally and he's talking to Wally, but it becomes obvious that he doesn't recognize Wally or really know who Wally is. And
so
he
that's
says
the second failed lightning rod. In
right.
other words.
Yeah. And he says something interesting. He says, say you. And now why that's so important is that's the phrase that he would use to summon his genie sidekick, Thunderbolt. There's actually a picture earlier in the book where they show a picture of the Justice Society, and you can see Captain Thunder and his sidekick genie, Thunderbolt. So he thought maybe, it's perceived that at this point, poor Johnny Thunder thought that Wally West was his old sidekick.
Potentially, I could see that.
Yeah, and that's what he's saying, that old catchphrase. Because see you, that's what he would say to summon his sidekick. And so once Flash disappeared, he started saying that to try to call him back, but no. So it's also gets a little dark because what's being insinuated here is that Captain Thunder is the one that's responsible for the disappearance of the Justice Society. that he's the one that's responsible.
I kind of figured that's what they were going for there. Whenever his last
Right.
words in the entire book, as we turn away from his part of the story, he says, "I never meant to throw you away," type thing. So it definitely kind of symbolically colors in the panel and says, "Hey, this is something else that's happened. This is paying homage to that."
Right.
And that little factoid of poor Captain Johnny Thunder's life. Yeah.
Poor old man. Yeah.
Yep.
The running theory is that he used Thunderbolt, his companion, to accidentally,
Quote unquote.
yeah. Well, no, not even quote unquote. Yeah.
I thought that's what you were going for.
No.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he used him accidentally.
Yeah. To I was trying to think of the next word delicately.
Kick ass.
No, to actually he because there's an actual real life Senator McCarthy.
Okay.
During way back in these times, and this is also a Watchmen tie-in.
Okay.
If you think about the time that the Watchmen or the Minutemen were originally told to unmask, that there are no more masked superheroes.
Right.
He's saying here that he was told by Senator McCarthy that they were to unmask, and when he got the word that they were told to unmask way back when,
Sure.
They're suggesting here that he used his sidekick Thunderbolt to unmask them, but in doing so, he accidentally maybe said something wrong, and he just got rid of them. And now no one remembers the Justice Society except for Captain Thunder.
If I was a DC writer, that would be a very powerful and blatant way of just erasing characters I didn't want to write anymore. Not saying that that's what they did, but
Right.
if that was someone on the team, then you go, because you just erased it. Like, all right, end the story, done. Here's the brick wall you just hit, Because that's what that sounds like to me, just from like a writing perspective. But from a storytelling perspective, I mean, that's a powerhouse way to kill things.
Right.
Yeah. Shit. And you don't exist anymore.
Yeah,
Dead.
you're gone.
Oh shit.
Yep.
You Thanos snapped me. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the last we see of poor Johnny. And so that's the thing about this comic is that like they go back, man, because like unless you've read like or familiar with like the Justice Society, then it's easy to get lost here, especially with him. But no, the next thing we go to a weird woman being interrogated in the police station. She's being interrogated by the police, by police captain Maggie Sawyer, who's typically a Superman side character. But this weird lady being interrogated, she's claiming to be from the future, and she's looking for Superman. Come to find out, she doesn't seem to be of any harm. She's not a physical threat to anybody. She's not dangerous. So the only thing that she has on her is this little golden ring. Essentially, she's Saturn Girl. Saturn Girl is from the future. She's like one of the world's greatest telepaths ever. She's from like the 31st century. So that's pretty far ahead. Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
No, that's
Right.
a good 7 centuries ahead of us.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
they perfected the iPhone finally.
Yeah. That's right. iPhone Infinite.
Oh no, that's the old model created
shit.
in the 25th century.
Oh,
actually.
I got you.
Yeah. See, that's where we're at. But nah, we weren't ready for that next infinite, the iPhone Google.
The iGoogle.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, but see, that was too copyrighted.
Oh, shit. Google's still a thing in the 31st century. But I will say this, what's interesting about her future is that it's not a dystopian future. Like, whenever most creative forces talk about the future, it's always this, this desolate, barren land that's been overrun with something, or that, but in her case, no, because of Superman and the Justice League, like, the future's great.
So what she was coming back to say, hey, thanks for all you do, bud. Keep it up.
Yeah, because I haven't read like
her story's called the Anti-Flashpoint.
The Anti-Flashpoint.
But
I haven't read like any of like the newest Superman Rebirth run, so I'm not sure exactly what Saturn Girl was doing here. But no, she's definitely here for something.
Yeah.
Then like at this point, like Wally, he's getting glimpses at what these heroes are doing now, and it gets pretty intricate and pretty unique at certain points too. For example, next we see Ryan Choi. Ryan Choi, he was the Atom at some point. He was like the second Atom. Or the third, I don't remember. But he was one of the Atoms. But here, he's not the Atom. It's still Ray Palmer, the OG Atom.
Right.
And essentially, Ray Palmer is telling him that, hey, I'm stuck in the microverse. I need you to come get me. I left you an extra suit. If you come get me, just remember, whatever you do, without a doubt, be sure that you, and then...
And cuts off.
Yeah.
I hate it when things do that. Like, I'm sorry. I had no problem connecting with you until this sentence. So next time... Don't overemphasize this sentence. In other words, Q, no matter what I do, don't...
Yep.
It's like, excuse me, I'll send myself to hell, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yep.
It is awesome how many lives and like intertwinings the story does go into.
Right.
It really does act like a fast-paced tree. Like they planted some seeds and said, all right, we're not going to go through the growing process. We're going to go through the get the hell out of the ground now process and just press this speed button, and all of a sudden the tree sprouts up. And one branch is this girl with Saturn Girl, and one branch is this story with story with Saturn Girl, and one branch was this story with good old Shrinkadink Team, and then the other story is back over here with Batman in the cave, looking at the letter contemplatively, like, what the shit just happened in my cave? I'm Batman, you know?
Yeah.
And then this next branch,
right? Yeah, and just to further expound on what Kevin was saying here, it's really just it's a clever way of the writers showing us where the DC universe is at now.
Essentially opening multiple doors, right? Like
yeah.
I was talking about earlier, introducing this tonight. Well, after you introduced it by talking about the prequel and the previous chapters leading into this, this does act like a story with not just a story to tell, but also an objective to accomplish. And they did so on both, storytelling and a political, we got the objective complete level. Like, hey, we opened this doorway, which activated that, and this storyline.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, in this point, like, we get this story, like, in a meta sense as to what the writers are trying to tell us. And also from the viewpoint of Wally, because Wally, he's trying to find his old teammates, and he's seeing that they're all in these different scenarios now. But, yeah, it goes on.
And whomever drew for this book, do you know the artist off bat?
It's on the cover.
Okay.
But they're a very good artist.
Yeah, I just want to give him a detailed compliment. If you're listening now, Mr. Which one's the actual artist? Is Geoff Johns the writer?
Yeah, Geoff Johns is the writer. It's the second name.
Gary Frank.
Gary Frank, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
You're the shit at drawing capes in detail. Like, look at Dr. Fate's cape, man.
Yeah.
Broken Easter egg, by the way, so the spoiler, but Dr. Fate's cape has, like, its own character.
Right.
This cape has more character than certain present TV shows which don't deserve mentioning.
Damn.
Okay? I mean,
No,
I want that cape.
Yeah.
It's got a collar, too.
No, there's a good point. I mentioned the artwork earlier, but it does beg to be mentioned again just because it's that good.
Oh yeah, no, it's really good, and his isn't the only one like that. They of course emphasize the characters and the different facial patterns as a good artist in a comic run should.
Right.
But it also just does a damn good job of drawing capes.
Yes.
I mean,
check. And that leads me to like another funny side story, real quick. In the Deadpool movie, I'm going to bring this up afterwards, but it was during the big cool scene. Spoiler alert, guys! Fast forward 2 minutes if you haven't seen Deadpool 2 yet.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. The one big really cool scene where Domino is trying to stop the convoy, and she's going through using her cool ass luck powers, and Deadpool is talking shit about her because like you don't really have any powers. What kind of lame? What kind of weird ass superpowers is luck?
As her luck masters everything.
Right. And then he goes, what kind of writer would create a character that power is luck? I bet it's by the same guy that can't even draw feet. And Rob Liefeld is notorious for not being able to draw feet. And of course, Rob Liefeld is the guy that created mainstream cable, Deadpool, and Domino.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like a funny call out to the fact that Rob Liefeld can't draw feet.
Making fun of his weakness.
Yeah.
That's some shit.
Yeah. Also, guys, if you look at Rob Liefeld's work, you guys probably already know this, but he always draws a significant amount of pouches on his characters.
For real, I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Like, Deadpool never carries around that much, except his pouches. He's got loads of shit in pouches.
Look at Cable. Cable is pouched up.
Cable is ready for some shit. He's got, like, ammo, alternate ammo, exploding rounds, grenades, if those aren't big enough explosions. You know, pack a C4 next to his side pistol, next to 2 clips of pistol ammo. I mean, a damn knife in the boot. Come on, yeah.
And we never see them go in the
always
pouches.
Rob. No, never. They're just there, like, I'm big and buff. Look at my pouch stick out. Doesn't stick out more than my pecs, though. You know.
I think it was either a couple months or a year ago, just as a gag on it. He actually made a fake character called Pouch Man. That was the character himself was like a pouch and was covered in pouches.
That's great. Yeah. The meta pouch.
Yeah. But no, anyways, Gary Frank really draws well here. He can draw feet, I assume.
Yeah.
But no, so yeah, what happens next is that we see Ted Cord. And now this is another interesting viewing that we see here, because Ted Cord was a previous Blue Beetle. Ted Cord, he's talking with who I recently found out name is pronounced Jaime Reyes.
Yep.
Not Jamie. So my life was a lie. And Jamie Reyes is of course the current Blue Beetle, and he has the alien scarab on his back, and he's going to Ted. In hopes that he can find a way to get the scarab off of him. Ted is talking to him, though, in the sense of like, no, you can, be an adventurer, be a hero. We can work together. I can help you. This is really cool because Ted Cord, when he was Blue Beetle, he didn't have the alien scarab or anything like that. He was a techie, which is why you see he built that big ass Beetle bot thing.
Right, the Beetle Mobile.
Right. Yeah, he was he thrived off of his technology and all that. Whereas Jaime, he gets his powers from the alien scarab.
Yeah, that would make a fascinating DC movie, and I hope they move in that direction in some time.
That'd be cool.
That'd be amazing.
Right,
yeah.
I like that.
Like an actual organic machine superhero movie. Which Cyborg organic machine?
Cyborg is he's organic. Organic technology, yeah.
Oh, but it doesn't turn on or off. He's just always in tech mode.
Right.
Yeah. No, our boy here can be like, okay, back in the backpack, and I'm a perma backpack kid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only drawback for me is that Jaime is stuck with that scarab on his back.
They can make a cool looking backpack scarab thing for the movie.
I mean,
for the movie, it'd be like, not even a backpack. It'd be more like one of those. I don't know what they're called anymore. It was like a drawstring bag, but tight. It hugs the whole back instead of sits loosely.
Yeah.
But I don't know my backpack names. Come on, this isn't a quiz. Not this week. Yeah. Not this time. But
shortly after Jaime leaves, Dr. Fate shows up, and he basically tells Ted that, look, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Stop it.
Basically.
Yeah, that's essentially what Dr. Fate shows up and tells him.
And then he claims that the Beetle is equal parts magic as it is tech. So and he's like really throwing in like a huge WTF on our boy here.
Right. Yeah. Something else that this really does, guys, if you haven't noticed, is that it sets up DC Rebirth in the sense of what these heroes are going to be doing in DC Rebirth.
Right. Yeah. It begins their stories.
Right.
Like the next hero, for instance. Who is this? Because this next page is just a number of heroes all quickly going over their stories. But which one is the top?
I think we're going chronological order. Is it Damian Wayne first, or is it?
That's who I think it is. It looks like Damian. He's got the green boots and gloves. He's got the Damian haircut. He's looking at birthday cake. But then he has an awkward ass smile.
Yeah, that's Damian. Well, he's smiling because in this panel, and it says a lot here without words, he's celebrating his 13th birthday, and that tells us two things. One, the Rebirth event has aged Damian because he was previously only 10, I believe, and so now they're telling us that yes, there has been some kind of time shift because Damian is older, and the reason he's grinning is because now he's old enough to join the Teen Titans. So.
Oh, 12 to 13. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Huh. Okay, sure.
Yeah, so
I don't know. It was kind of weird for me to imagine Damien smiling about something. Yeah.
Oh, he smiles on occasion.
I'm sure he smiles on occasions, but I don't know what those occasions are. Here, he's eating cake by himself. Is that a smiling occasion? I mean,
yeah, because he gets to join the Teen Titans.
And he gets a whole cake, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was a little like, oh, this is perplexing. You know, just wanted to know more about that. The next few are quite obvious.
Right. Yeah. So like Kevin said, we get Damian Wayne, who's just turned 13, finally going to join the Teen Titans.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh yeah. The next punter we get is Jessica Cruz, and we're introduced to her in the New 52. And I actually really like her character. I'm glad that she's here for Rebirth.
Yeah.
I've been reading the Green Lantern's Rebirth run, and it's fun seeing her. She's talking to Hal Jordan, and she's referencing a guy that uses a gun. That's Simon Bass. That's another new Green Lantern. But no.
That seems like overkill.
Yeah.
Green Lantern rings, power of will. Oh my gosh. Bang, bang.
Oh, yeah. But no, I'm glad to see Jessica here. She was a really fun character.
She's got a cool tat over the
Yeah,
eye.
yeah.
It's not really a tat, but it's...
Right,
yeah.
like the Green Lantern symbol of her eye.
Right, yeah.
What was cool really quick about her in the New 52, there was a moment where the Earth 3 heroes came over because the Earth was being destroyed.
Sure.
And the Earth 3, they were villains, guys. We know this now. It was like Owlman, Ultraman, Superwoman. It was that
of
whole
course,
group.
yeah.
They came across, and of course they did battle with our mainstream heroes. Their version of Green Lantern was a coward, straight up coward. And spoiler alert, guys, he died in New 52, that version of Green Lantern. And that power ring went to find someone else that they could use, because essentially that ring is equally sentient as the typical Green Lanterns, but it's more talkative and very evil. And it was looking for a host, a new host that it could take advantage of and use up.
Sounds more parasitic.
Almost, yeah. It likes to use its host, feed off their fear, and then once they die, like their essence becomes part of the ring.
Okay.
And so it's looking for a new host, and then it was hounding Jessica Cruz because she was really fearful, had a lot of fear in her heart. And then essentially, like, until you learn to master it, the ring controls you. So you don't have a choice as to what you can do.
Okay.
And so she was taken advantage of by the ring for a while. Fortunately, our boy Hal came back for a spell to kind of help her. Him and Flash really helped her. But no, she became to be like a really cool member of the Justice League, and she had a really cool story as well about her coming around, because it wasn't. You get to read throughout the issues, seeing how the ring is still talking shit, but she's keeping her cool, controlling the ring. It's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool branding. Yeah.
Yeah. Then of course we get Jackson Hyde, aka Aqualad, who for the first time we find out he's gay. I don't think there's any other time that it's mentioned that he's gay. Yeah. He's just talking to his mom about his sexuality and all that, and shit, man. Yeah. More power to you, man. Let's see. And then the next thing we get here is really interesting. We see...
we recognize this page.
Yeah,
definitely.
we do.
Yeah,
we do.
We've seen this before.
Right. We get here is Pandora, and she's saying some pretty cryptic things here. We don't know who she's talking to, and she's essentially reciting her own mythos. About how, you open Pandora's box and you let all the evil out, but little did you know that hope was in there too. She's reciting her own myth, her own mythos, and then she dies. She dies a terrible death.
And her death is a very peculiar one that we recognize, especially if you're familiar with the Watchmen.
Right, familiar with the Watchmen. This page has the same layout and format as when Dr. Manhattan killed
Worcester.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Whoa. He killed the sauce. He took a bottle of sauce and said, I don't like this flavor. This is some shit. And just equalized it. He just turned that into nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rorschach.
He asked for A1, damn it.
Shit.
I'm throwing stuff everywhere.
Yep.
It's getting violent. All right.
But no, so this page is drawn, and her death is framed to look just like that when Dr. Manhattan killed Rorschach in The Watchmen. So that's also really interesting. And it's also interesting to think about why it was her and why she died like that. So throughout the New 52, and even at the end of Flashpoint, it's all set up to look like Pandora was the cause of the New 52. That she played a really big part in it. But come to find out, no, she wasn't the one. She's not the culprit. Nope. But she's certainly dead now. Yep. So let's see. The next thing that happens here is that we see Superman living in a motel with Lois and his son John. Now, what's interesting is that this isn't the Superman we've known for the last 5 years. This is pre-Flashpoint Superman. So this is Superman before the events of Flashpoint, which is why I can tell he looks a little older than New 52 Superman, and why he has a son with him as well.
And a little beard.
Yep, and he's got a beard. Now, what's interesting is that they're watching the news in the motel, he and Lois and John, and they see that the New 52 Superman is dead. He's no more. And, Lois says, well, you died too, Clark, so maybe he'll come back. And Superman goes, well, I hope so. And
I hope I come back.
Yeah. And so he's leaving the motel to go get some stuff. And as he's leaving, he's approached by this really ominous figure. This guy approaches Clark. And he's like a cloaked figure. And
yeah, I mean, at this point, I have to make fun of the story a little bit. I have to. You can't get more cliche than that. Like, this guy looks like evil shit. He's coming up in a random ass motel where I'm at with my family in a cloak of all things, right? Yeah. And then he's got like a scythe or something. It looks like a scythe with like a reverse sickle. So you're just kind of like, oh, okay, this guy's obviously bad news. This guy's not here to say, hey, here's your pizza. This is going to be $12.98. Great price for delivery pizza. But yeah, just the way he looks and everything, he's from like some damn cult or something, gonna make some evil shit happen.
Well, we can agree to disagree on that one, especially since, spoiler alert, guys, he's Jor-El. He's Superman's dad, so
son of a bitch.
So no, Kevin, he is not from some evil cult.
I still think he could be from an evil cult. You don't know what his dad was involved in.
So, no, sir.
But you gotta admit, the look. Look at this. Look at it.
Yeah, okay. It did what it was supposed to do, which was a classic fake out.
Yeah, it was a classic fake. Okay, it did fake me out. But he could still be some evil shit. I'm just throwing it in there. Don't knock it till we see what happens, We'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
Anyways. Yes, after the run-in with Mr. Oz, a.k.a. Jor-El, we continue forward and we see he's looking at some of these relationships and how the relationships that he once knew are no more, such as Dina and Oliver, or Black Canary and Green Arrow.
Right.
He says how they're like, in this universe now, they're eyeing each other and they feel a strong connection, but in this universe they're not really a thing. Where they were one of the longest running relationships before this happened, for sure. And then also we see Mara and Arthur, or Mara or Aquaman, and how he's proposing to her now, and essentially Wally, he's seeing all this and he's seeing how there's so much time that's been lost, like so much history and experience that's gone now, and some of them are getting it back and some of them kind of aren't.
Yeah.
And then that he realizes that maybe he does have a lightning rod, something to draw him back down to Earth.
And it wasn't a bad idea. It was finally like a good idea in the list that he's had so far.
Yeah. Linda Park, that's his boo thing. That's his woman. I think like pre New 52, I think the two even had kids. Like they were like madly in love with one another. And the thing about all Flashes and like when they travel is that their lightning rod is typically always their loved ones, the ones that they love the most.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, for Barry, it was always Iris. Like, that was his lightning rod. And for Wally, it's got to be Linda. And so we see Linda, and she's at, like, the crime scene where Superman died, trying to get a scoop on the story. And the cops not having any of it. She goes off kind of by herself, and then she's approached by Wally. And we get a really cool, heartfelt moment here about Wally, just pouring out his heart to her.
He's really trying, man.
Begging for her to remember. Yeah. But unfortunately for him, even after all of that, after their strong bond and their connection and everything that they've gone through, she does not remember him. Linda does not remember Wally.
Nope.
And so the Speed Force takes him back up again. And at this point, poor Wally knows he just does not have a lot of time left.
Yeah.
It was a good try, bud, but yeah, it didn't work. And at this point, I feel bad for him because, like, if your typical lightning rod doesn't work to keep you grounded, what do you do?
Right. Like, if your only really great quality lightning rod is all of a sudden broken for some reason, then, well,
right.
guess I'm gonna hit the house and burn the roof down.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
But the thing of it is, for poor Wally, is that if he doesn't figure out something soon, he's going to suffer a fate that would probably be worse than death.
Yeah. It's like you're not living, but you're certainly closer to dead than living.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
but
you become fuel for the Speed Force, and you're no longer sentient or conscious. Like, you're just now energy.
It's like you're a type of recycled matter.
Right.
And congratulations, you're going to be used by some kid who's going to learn how to use this shit. You know? Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Poor guy. But now, so what happens next is that as he's traveling along, he finds the other Wally. The other Wally West, the one that we get in the New 52.
Yeah.
His replacement. And now, what they explain here is that this Wally West, it is, but it isn't his replacement. Oddly enough, this Wally West, they do have a connection in the sense that they're both like, Kid Flash and all that. But like the relationships that they have with Iris to Barry, all that's completely different. The similarities are their Flash powers and of course their names. They're both named Wally West.
Yep.
So if you guys watch the Flash TV show, this new Wally West is more akin to that. The New 52 Wally West is more akin to that Wally West.
Yeah.
But no, he sees him.
What season are they on now, man? Are they on season 5 yet? Are they up?
Not yet. I think they just finished 4.
That makes sense because I stopped mid 3. Like mid 3, I kind of said, okay, what else do I have to do? I gotta go take care of some shit. I gotta put this down.
I feel bad because that show started off really good.
Oh, it was. We watched it together for a long time. It was a great show.
Right.
I looked forward to that. But then,
I was talking to Caleb the other day, and and that show came up.
Sure.
And he quit watching even before I did.
Okay.
But I was telling him that I think that the 22 episode format has always been a bad idea. Just because that's too much. You want your writers to write 22 hours of episode. I mean, 22 hours a season.
Right.
And have it all be cohesive and push the plot forward and make sense. Like you're gonna hit some shit that's gonna be redundant.
Exactly.
That's not gonna make any sense. And that's typically what happens with most 22-hour season shows.
Yeah, it starts becoming bad, and you slow down the plot to where you're doing nothing all episode.
Yeah, it proves that more is not always better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take a page from Game of Thrones book.
Exactly.
Not that your show needs to be like that, but they're doing what's the last season going to be? 6 episodes?
6 episodes,
maybe.
Yeah. The previous one had 7 or 8? I think 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 8. I can't remember. But yeah.
And then,
nonetheless, they're going to be movie length long,
right? But even the previous seasons only had 10 episodes. I think that's the perfect length for most hour-length shows.
Yeah.
Like unless your writers know that they have a story that they want to tell that's longer than that,
right?
We talk about the Netflix shows. Like even those are
those are pitiful examples.
Yeah, well,
really.
I was saying that even those are too long.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, because it's like, 13 episodes in, and somewhere in the 6 or 7, or early on in 2 or 3, or 8 and 9, depends which season you're looking at, the plot slows down to a crawl.
Yeah.
In fact, that is a great rule of thumb. We're going to staple that on the damn message board. Limit your seasons to 10 or less when you're writing.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to get the better meat out of your writing. And then if it rolls over some, 11 is okay, but do it in 10 or less.
Essentially.
Exactly.
Unless you're like a sitcom comedy or something like that.
If you're writing sitcom, then I don't care what you do. Do your thing.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. At that point, you lost me anyways.
I mean,
no offense to sitcom.
Damn. Yeah.
I never could stand sitcom television, you know.
Yeah.
Even growing up, I wasn't really into a lot of it. Yeah.
I think those were the best ones, like Fresh Prince.
See, I never watched all of French. I never did a lot of French Prince. No, I did
know,
like a few random episodes.
We're not friends anymore.
It's too late.
My feelings.
It's too late.
But no, anyways, we went way off the deep end there, folks.
We did.
We're nearing the end of the story here.
Our Wally had to come back to us.
He did, yeah. Yeah, so Flash, you gotta do something about your show, bro. But anyways.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, they kicked Wally off the show. Did I tell you that?
What?
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, you mean the actor? Like they kicked the
Well,
individual?
I mean, I don't want to say they kicked him off.
Okay.
But they wrote his character off the show. I think maybe he's going to be in Legends of Tomorrow now.
How do you write Wally West out of The Flash?
You know, it's funny because right before I quit watching, literally like weeks before I quit watching, I was like, they have nothing to do for this character. Like, he has literally nothing to do. Like, there's so many
Barry
chances.
Allen is still Barry Allening and flashing shit. That was funny. Then what's there left for Wally to flash? You know,
that's the point. That's the problem. and you know, I guess fortunately they realized that they didn't have anything to do for Wally. Unfortunately, instead of writing something quality, they instead just said, "Well, we'll have to take his character out for a while." I don't know if he's back. He probably is. I don't know. But he was definitely gone for a while. You guys
feel free to message us or email at us and let us know. Really, give us a happy ending, a little ribbon on this.
Yeah.
Flash CW present, but
yeah, because if this book proves anything, is that Wally deserves better.
Yeah, he really does, dude. Yeah. Shit.
I mean, he's the fastest of all the Flashes. Come on.
I mean, he is my favorite Flash. Flat out.
There we go.
Yeah, you know, come on. For me.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, after he visits the New 52 Wally, he realized that death is approaching, or whatever the Speed Force death is very fast approaching.
Wait, isn't there a speed runner called Death? Actually,
the Black Runner.
Yeah, exactly. And he's basically like, "Tag, you're it. Oh, you're dead."
Right.
Yeah.
Funny story. It was around the Final Crisis era, maybe pre-Crisis, but anyways,
Crisis.
It was during that era where Wally West was so damn fast that he outran the Black Racer. I think I mentioned that a few weeks ago.
So he outran Death.
Yeah. That he did.
Actually, you did mention that a few weeks ago. I remember that. Yeah.
But no, so as he's nearing death, for his very last visit, he visits Barry. And this is probably, to me, my favorite part of the story. It's debatable. This is one other moment. But this may be my favorite part of the story because it's so damn heartwarming and touching. He goes and he visits Barry, and of course Barry's trying, but Barry doesn't remember, and Barry's like, "I'm sorry, man, I don't know who you are."
Yeah. And
you know, after everything they've been through, after all the struggles and all the stories and everything, and what happens next is pretty cool. So Wally, he's not even trying now to ground himself. He just wanted to see his mentor one more time and tell him thank you for everything you've done.
Right.
Because he knows that his time's up and there's nothing else he can do. And as he's disintegrating and becoming one with the Speed Force, something triggers and Barry remembers, and Barry embraces Wally and grounding Wally into this universe.
Yep. Gives him a firm grab of that arm and says, "Oh, no, you don't, son.
Yeah.
Come here."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really love the dialogue here because at this point Barry goes, "Wally, how could I ever forget you?" You know, it got me thinking, like, if I was in Wally's position and then you forgot about me, I probably wouldn't take the approach that Wally did. I'd probably hit you because about you son of a bitch. You're my last chance to be here and to not fade away into nothingness. And you don't want to remember me. Okay,
well, without making this a weird-ass moment, I wouldn't forget you, but I definitely wouldn't handle it like Barry either. Like, the hell are you doing here? How'd you get here? What? No, I'm not grabbing you until we explain this shit. Oh, you're dying? Oh, well, that's too bad. You better explain this shit. I'd grab you, buddy. I'd save your ass.
Oh, shit. But no, so it's at this point where Barry remembers and they embrace, And what is one of the greatest things about this, that not only is this one of my favorite moments of the book, but Wally West officially becomes part of this universe on page 52.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't realize they only made it that long. Oh, that's genius.
Yeah.
I did not realize that in my reading. That's... Oh, I gotta count now. After we're off mic, I'm gonna count. I'm gonna do some math.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right. Wally does state something pretty ominous and creepy. He goes, there's more things that you forgot and that everybody needs to remember, but we are being watched. And that was a pretty cool moment. And then the next thing we get here in the closing moments of the main story is we go back to the Batcave, and Batman, he's searching through like where the lightning struck, where Wally left. And like the crevice of the wall in the Batcave, he finds a shiny object, and he goes over to the wall where that lightning struck, and he pulls out the comedian's badge.
That's my favorite moment.
Yeah. The very same comedian, of course, from The Watchmen. It has the blood stain on it and everything. So it's not just a random smiley face button. It is the button.
Right.
Yep.
Notorious at this point.
Yeah, very much so. We get an epilogue here that was really cool. I really love the epilogue as well. And in the epilogue, we see Wally's watch. Wally's watch is on Mars, and on Mars, the watch, it stopped at 11:59, not quite midnight. And the reason why that's so important to note, that the watch stopped at 11:59, is because that's the same time that Ozymandias sent the alien to destroy New York. So that's a really cool Easter egg callback.
Okay. Now, what about whenever they rebranded and built the watch again and put it at the new time?
Right. So when the watch is deconstructed and is reconstructed perfectly, it creates the symbol for a doomsday clock, which is, of course, the now running series for the Watchmen being brought into the DC universe. But as the watch is deconstructed and being reconstructed, we get one final conversation, and it's the conversation between Ozymandias and Dr. Manhattan at the end of Watchmen. That very same conversation is being replayed at the very end of the book here, and I thought that was genius. And then, of course, they give us the doomsday clock symbol. But yeah, so that is DC Rebirth, guys. That is our introduction or our exit from the New 52 into this new era for the DC universe.
Yeah.
This did a great job. One, reintroducing Wally West. Two, showing us where our characters are at and reintegrating all of that.
Yeah.
Bringing back things from the pre-crisis era into now. And then also introducing the idea of the Watchmen into the DC continuity.
Yep. Not only all of that, but it also did a very good job of hitting the reset button on just a few potential stories that they can rehash, retell, or just give us a completely fresh take on,
Right.
Like the small things that were lost, like the friendships and the relationships and the famous stories that we all came to appreciate, even on a side level, you know? Yeah. And so it really just broadened the horizon for them, giving them a whole new birth of just, hey, well, let's tell some new stories, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the perfect dynamite track in order to just blow everything up and lay it all out again. Yeah.
Right.
Not saying that they blew everything up in this, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like what I love about this, that even though this can be read as a self-contained story, like it does make you wonder, well, what's next? Like, why did presumably Dr. Manhattan do all this? What's the purpose? Like, what does Dr. Manhattan see to cause all of this? What did he see to reshape the universe to create the New 52? What did he see to reshape it as it is now? Why is he doing this? Why are there 3 Jokers now? Why did he kill Pandora like that? Why Once again, all this is allegedly.
Exactly. That's the hyphenated word
Right.
there. Yeah. Or highlighted. Shit, that made no sense. Allegedly.
Yeah.
No, but no, it's definitely a clever story, and I can't wait to talk about its follow-up sometime soon.
Yeah. The Button.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about that one next Wednesday.
There's the announcement.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the button, the very same button. And
Dun, dun, dun.
yeah, just a really
Making another return.
just a really brief synopsis. That's where Barry Allen and Batman get together to figure out that damn mystery. What the hell is up with this?
Yeah.
And
why has no one wiped the blood off of it yet?
it's probably stained and encrusted. I don't think it's like I don't think it's
I
a
guess.
Yeah,
but then you could wipe it off, can't you? Like it's still just like dried blood at that
Yeah,
point.
maybe.
You know, like
They'd be
just
tampering with
flake
evidence.
it off. That's true. That's true. They could really just Batman it and say, "Oh, this blood belongs
Right.
to the database. Doesn't have anyone for this.
Yeah,
This person doesn't exist."
right. Essentially.
Essentially, we'll get into
Oh
it.
yeah, most definitely. And what we've got to remember is that DC Rebirth is like an introduction into where we are now with the continuity, and I love how they brought us there. But I gotta say the button is a great story. I mean, there's a lot of shit that happens in the button, so I can't wait to break that down with you guys later on.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to talk about.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But
we'll
guys,
both have to cover that one.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. You got any closing comments, Kevin?
No, this was a good story.
yeah.
I definitely appreciated it in everything that they accomplished in telling it and the way they told it too.
Oh
It
yeah,
was good.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, guys. So that's gonna be it for tonight. But before we leave, before you guys turn off the podcast, don't you damn hit that button. Don't hit the button. Don't do it.
Nah.
But no, before we close, guys, I want to tell you a little bit about our Patreon page once again. If you go to don't go to superherohomies.com. If you go to patreon.com/superherohomies, that'll take you to our Patreon page. And there we have a lot of bonus content, such as new movie reviews, video game reviews, cult classic movie reviews, and even TV show reviews. And so if you want to hear us talk about stuff that's non-related to superhero content, that'd be the place to go.
Exactly, yeah. And also, as always, you guys can definitely hit us up on the Facebook page and try to contact us through that. Show us some love and appreciation, or send us a message. Let us know what you think of the page.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Patreon page spans from either $1 to $3, depending on what kind of content you want. But we can promise you, it's all quality stuff. And there is actually a Patreon app, actually, that's free. So if you download your Patreon app, you'll be able to hear us, on the go with our Patreon bonus content.
Hell yeah.
For sure. Yeah, guys, so that's going to be it for this evening. We'll be back this Sunday talking about comic book video games or superhero video games. And that's going to be a real fun one also.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll see you guys next time. And until then, I am Quentin.
I'm Kevin.
All right, guys.